This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. Farm families are breathing a sigh of relief, especially when it comes to estate taxes, after new legislation permanently increases the federal exemption, allowing more farmers to pass their agricultural legacy on to the next generation without facing significant tax liabilities. Learn more about the positive implications this bill has for farm families on this Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. Plus, Ohio State's College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences has students learning about agribusiness law and gaining the skills to navigate those challenges without needing to become lawyers themselves. Find out why this angle of education is so important for the future of agriculture after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Boyert from Boyert's Greenhouse and Farm. My wife and I live in Medina County. Right here at Boyert's, we have 43 employees. 14 of them are full-time employees. Keeping good quality health has been one of our biggest concerns in our industry today. Through the health benefits plan, which was one of the issues we were trying to find a solution for, to help provide health coverage for these families, these young families in our industry, so we can keep them. You can't ask for a better program than the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan when it comes to the health benefits for each and every individual. It makes me go to bed at night feeling that I have a greater advantage than the guy down the road because I'm providing these tools to these young folks, and I know they're going to stay.
Learn more about the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan at ofbhealthbenefitsplan.org.
It's a topic that's really constantly on the minds of farm families: estate taxes. The One Big Beautiful Bill passed by Congress and signed by President Trump on July 4th will have a big impact on estate taxes moving forward. Joining me this week, Ryan Conklin, an attorney with Wright and Moore. He's a trusted voice in ag law, and he's here to help us unpack a whole lot about what this legislation could mean for the future of farm families, from succession planning to tax implications and everything in between. Ryan, welcome back to the podcast. Good to see you.
Thanks for the invite once again, Ty. I've got my punch card over here. I think this is number 4 or 5, or working my way towards the free sandwich or free T-shirt.
We have a lot to unpack. This new legislation could mean some really positive things for the future of family farms. The passage of this One Big Beautiful Bill that we saw come across President Trump's desk on July 4th should have family farmers and family farms breathing a big sigh of relief, especially when it comes to estate taxes. Remind us, before we get into what this bill does, what would have happened if it didn't happen? If these provisions sunsetted at the end of the year, what would that have meant for farm families across Ohio and across the country?
Absolutely, Ty. And you can't see it off screen here, but I've got a nice obituary prepared for the sunset. And for really 7 years there, sunsets took on a different meaning for me. Every night, looking off to the west, watching that sun go down, my mind always went to the estate tax sunset is coming. The estate tax sunset is coming.
That's kind of sad, really, with how beautiful sunsets are, that's what you were thinking about as they went down.
Yeah, it's just a peek behind the curtain here, Ty, of what's going on in a farm succession planner's mind. But the sunset is no more. The fear that we lived in for 7 years, 8 years, that at the end of 2025 we would have a reset of the improved estate tax exemption back to pre-2017 law. That is no more. So our refresher there, this year we've got about $14 million of estate tax exemption per person. At the end of this year, it was supposed to reset to somewhere to 7 and 7.5, which is the last permanent law on estate taxes that we have. The permanent law that was on the books pre-Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was about 5 million adjusted for inflation, and that point's going to be important coming up later.
So, of course, this eases the burden of estate taxes on family farms. You mentioned it permanently increases the federal exemption. And really, we talk about succession planning a lot. Agricultural legacy, passing that on to the future generations without that tax liability is so important.
Absolutely. When you talk about the debt that it requires to keep a farm going or stay in growth mode, coupled with challenging commodity prices and economic conditions on the farm, when you stack an estate tax bill on top of that, it really starts to make financial conditions very tight on an operation if they have to add that to it. The IRS does let you pay that estate tax bill over time, but their terms aren't exactly the greatest either. So really, the key strategy for farm families would be avoiding estate taxes altogether.
It's always a hot button issue, estate taxes, especially in agriculture. We talk about land rich, asset rich, cash poor. Can you break down how the changes in this one big beautiful bill will impact farm succession and generational planning as a whole?
Of course. So the one big beautiful bill, the big change that was made on the estate tax front, going back to my comment a few moments ago about permanent law, pre-Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from 2017, pre that bill, it was about 5 million adjusted for inflation. So that was the permanent law that we had to revert back to, hence the sunset provision. We had the favorable pieces, they would have sunset back to permanent law. And what can only be described as a triumphant achievement by Congress and the White House, we have new permanent law on the estate tax front. So that $5 million floor here at the end of 2025 is going to reset up to 15 million. So now, even in the future, if we have a temporary increase to 30 million per person, the sunset for that provision would go back to 15 million. So it's a pretty substantial increase that is going to take a lot of farm families out of estate tax danger. But just like Swiss cheese has holes in it, so does permanent law have a chance that it can be changed down the road. You might see a new Congress, a new White House come in and lower that permanent law back down to a more difficult level for farm families.
You help families all across the state be proactive when it comes to estate taxes and succession planning. How does this new law, this permanent change, impact the way that the planning strategies work with you and your clients?
Well, the first and most important piece of any sort of estate tax calculation or estate tax danger assessment is knowing what a true net worth is for an individual farm or an individual family. I'm not talking balance sheet reported to your lender each year net worth. I'm talking if you listed all those acres or if you did a fire sale, all that equipment today, what is the final bid going to be on, and the winning bid going to be on those assets? So we're having to value at highest and best use value there, which means your number on the balance sheet to the lender could be very different from the number that your legal counsel or your tax professional is using to calculate estate taxes. So farm families that are in high net worth situations, first strategy is do a true net worth assessment. And if you are approaching that $30 million for a married couple, $15 million for a single person, then you really need to stay vigilant with your estate tax planning. Even though the 15 million will have an inflationary adjustment each year, you are by no means out of the woods on estate taxes. And if farmland appreciation continues to be strong, balance sheets continue to grow, you could see families that were in the clear for a while very easily start to eclipse that 30 million or $15 million threshold.
On that note, many families might think you put a plan together and you just kind of set it and forget it, right? How often should you go back and look at your plan and make the adjustments necessary?
Yeah, our standard recommendation in the office is going to be every 5 years at a minimum. In 5 years, you could see a pretty wide set of changes from family dynamics to businesses to appreciation of assets to net worth. So in that 5 years, 5 year window, somewhere around there, we would like to see an update occur. But if you are already over that state tax exemption level, so you're in the $30 million or $40 million or more range, this is probably a conversation that you're going to have annually with your tax and legal professional to make sure that that professional group is staying on top of your estate tax exposure.
Ryan Conklin, an attorney with Wright and More. You can find him online at ohiofarmlaw.com. Always appreciate the insights, and this is very exciting news for farm families. And I know that many of them, with this news, called you up and found out what next steps were. But I appreciate you telling everybody here on the podcast what you're recommending.
Absolutely. Thanks once again, Ty.
At Ag Credit, we've been proudly providing support and financing for agriculture in rural Ohio for generations. As a local farmer-owned cooperative, we value our members and work to supply the best service possible while offering competitive products and solutions. Solutions that support the next generation getting started, ones that help operations grow, and others to aid with transitions. To apply online or find the location nearest you, visit us at agcredit.net. Ag Credit, committed to agriculture, committed to you.
No matter what generation farmer you are, the next one is always the most important. The Ohio Soybean Council is focused on the future of your operation. It's not just a checkoff contribution. It's an investment you can count on for your farm, your bottom line, and your future. Ohio Soybean Council. Invested in your future.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. As the agricultural landscape grows more complex, the need for professionals who understand the legal and regulatory forces shaping the industry is greater than ever. At Ohio State's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences, students are learning about agribusiness law and also gaining the skills to navigate those challenges without needing to become lawyers themselves. To talk more about this course is Peggy Kirk-Hall, Associate Professor and OSU Extension Field Specialist in Agricultural and Resource Law at CFAES. Peggy, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So this all stems from an article in the magazine you'll see over my shoulder called Our Ohio. It's about agriculture and the law, the entire magazine is, and this feature with Peggy in it talking about this course. You mentioned in this article that it's not about teaching students to be lawyers. So what is the overall goal of this curriculum?
Well, our goal is to teach our ag students about how the law will impact them and how they can navigate and deal with the law, as well as analyze new laws and policies that will be coming at them as they engage in their ag careers.
So what does that look like? Walk us through the course and some of the things these students will learn.
Well, we begin first by making sure that they understand the legal system itself. So we start with some very basic information that they may not have had since, back in government class in high school, but we do try to refresh that information. And as with the entire course, we try to connect that with what they will be doing. And when you can make that connection, it makes it much easier to deliver that information. So we start there, the legal system, understanding some very important concepts like the rule of law, how laws are made, the different branches of government, and how they could be impacted by those different branches. Even something like how a case goes through court. So we give them that very basic legal foundation. And from there, then we go into different areas of law that we feel pretty sure they'll encounter at some point in their careers. So we cover criminal and civil liability laws. We cover business laws, which is a very large part of the course. And then the third area is property and resource laws, which would include not just the basics of property law, but also some of those other areas like environmental, drainage, water. That's what we group in as resource laws. So we walk through all those different areas throughout the course.
You know as well as I do in our roles at our organizations that this is a wide-ranging topic. So there are a lot of real-world scenarios out there, and we'll talk about some things particular to Ohio in a bit. But how do you use real-world scenarios in this course particularly?
Well, we constantly try to bring in cases that are going on, or we may have gotten a court decision out of that. We love to use court cases. That seems to resonate really well with the students when they see that, oh, this really does happen in real life and could go to court. And here's how, the court plays a role in what we might do. So we love to bring in court cases. We talk a lot about proposed legislation, new laws. So that's another major way to bring in the real world. But third, I teach the course, and also Robert Moore, who is an attorney now with my program, uh, teaches. And the two of us had experience in private practice. And so we bring in those real live experiences that we had as attorneys in private practice, real cases, real situations, real problems, and we use those as a basis for teaching.
What issue particular to Ohio might you have used in the curriculum?
Oh goodness. That is another thing we try to do is keep up with what are those current issues that are evolving. For example, when solar leasing became so prevalent among our landowners and they were dealing with that, we brought that into the case. So even though we have kind of this set topics we're going to cover, we try to adapt them to a current issue in that area that is actually occurring. So we've done a lot also with estate and succession planning because that's a big current issue many of our landowners are dealing with, and we try to walk them through okay, here's this issue we're dealing with. Now, how does it play out in the law and how might it affect you and what might you do in response to that current issue? Another one is the, nutrient management. That's been a big one to discuss and get them to keep up with what's happening there and how it affects them. Carbon, carbon capture, carbon farming, those kinds of issues. So it's not hard, as you know, Ty, to turn around and see what's happening and then take and tie that into the classroom. There's so much happening.
Why, in your opinion, is this angle of education when it comes to the legalities and policies of agriculture important? And do you find that maybe because of this course, we'll get more people more involved in the process down the road?
Well, I think that is a hope that we have that the more you know about how the law does play a role in your life, the more willing you'll be to try to keep up with it and engage in it, and certainly engage in those policies that are made that affect us. And I think students do respond to that. I think it feels a lot of times like they're surprised to learn how much the law and policies will affect them in their futures. It takes them off guard a little bit, but I think it also catches their attention. And our hope is that they will be better prepared to deal and engage in those laws and policies as time goes on. We spend a lot of time trying to get them to actually say, here's what I would do. And put them in that role. And that goes with policy making as well as just, on the farm or in their business, what would I do? But also, if this policy comes up, what would I do? How would I respond to it? What would my opinion of that be as it impacts agriculture or my specific business?
You've been teaching this course for a while, and I have to imagine that over the years, maybe the classroom needed to be a little bit bigger.
Oh goodness, they keep upping the maximum enrollment, and because we had a waiting list for quite a while, they've decided to offer it twice a year now. It was just once a year, so we're splitting it now, where Robert teaches one and I teach one, and it's offered twice a year with still with that cap on how many we can go. So we've grown. The first year I taught it. I can never remember for sure. I had either 12 or 14 students. I need to go back and see which one it is, but now we're up to, we max out at 75 with a waiting list. And then they've even toyed with increasing it to 80. It gets a little hard to teach that many students at once. So I'm very, very thankful that they've gone to twice a year so that we can accommodate more students and perhaps in a slightly smaller classroom.
So, who is this meant for? For those incoming freshmen or those working their way through a degree, what type of degree are we talking about where this course in particular would be a perfect fit?
Well, we plan it for later. Juniors and seniors is really who we want to see. We do sometimes get sophomores in there, but we want them to be, a little bit forward in knowing where they're going with their degree. We have a lot of our ag business students from the AEDE department are in the class. A lot of animal science students are in the class. Quite a few come over from our School of Environment and Natural Resources with different degrees there. We always have a number of agronomy students that are in the class. And then coming over from our ag engineering college, we get the construction um, majors, construction, science. I'm not sure I'm getting that. CSM is their major, as well as another major over in ag engineering. So we have quite a mix of students. And occasionally we'll even get someone from, as we say, across the river who aren't even ag students who have heard about the class. I've had some law students from over in Moritz want to take the class. So it's always a real mix of students, but we really, really, really want to see our students getting those ag majors, especially those who are going to go back to the farm and farm or be engaged in agribusiness. Those are the ones we really want to be in the classroom.
That wide range of majors shows just how wide-ranging these issues are. Peggy Kirkall, Associate Professor and OSU Extension Field Specialist in Agriculture and Resource Law at the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences, our guest on the podcast. Thank you so much. And again, if you want to find out more, you can check out the latest Our Ohio magazine, and you'll find Peggy's work in there as well. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Find previous podcasts at ohiofarmbureau.org and search podcast.